Hello friends, a big loving welcome to your very own channel Ammu&You, and I am Ammu with another very interesting story for all of you. Small, big, child, mother, father, grandparents, anyone would love this story. The name is The Day Grandfather Tickled a Tiger, written by the wonderful author Ruskin Bond. Tickled a tiger? Have you ever heard of a tiger being tickled? Well, let's hear the story. Timothy, the tiger cub, was discovered by grandfather on a hunting expedition in the Terai jungle near Dehra. Grandfather was no shikari, but as he knew the forest of the Shivalik hills better than most of the people, he was persuaded to accompany the people. Grandfather, strolling down the forest path at some distance from the rest of the party, discovered a little tiger about 18 inches long, hiding among the intricate roots of a banyan tree. Grandfather, a lover of animals, picked him up and brought him home after the camp was broken up. At first, the tiger cub, who was named Timothy by my grandmother, was brought up entirely on milk given to him in a feeding bottle by our cook, Mahmood. But the milk proved too rich for him, and he was put on a diet of raw mutton and cod liver oil, to be followed later by a more tempting diet of pigeons and rabbits. Timothy was provided with two companions, Toto the monkey, who was bold enough to pull the young tiger by the tail and then climb up the curtains if Timothy lost his temper, and a small mongrel puppy found on the road by grandfather. These two companions were great friends with Timothy. One of Timothy's favorite amusement was to stalk anyone who would play with him, and so when I came to live with grandfather, I became one of the tiger's favorites. With a crafty look in his glittering eyes and his body crouching, he would creep up closer and closer to me, suddenly making a dash for my feet, rolling over on his back and kicking with delight and pretending to bite my ankles. What fun that was! He was by this time the size of a full-grown retriever, and when I took him out for walks, people on the road would give up a wide berth. When he pulled hard on his chain, I had difficulty keeping up with him. His favorite place in the house was the drawing room, and he would make himself comfortable on the long sofa, reclining there with great dignity and snarling at anybody who tried to get him off there. When Timothy was about 6 months old, a change came over him, and it was noticed by all. He grew steadily less friendly. When he went out for a walk with me, he would try to steal away to stalk a cat or someone's pet peknees. Timothy had to be chained up more often now. And finally, when he began to stalk Mahmood about the house with what looked like a villainous intent, grandfather decided it was time to transfer him to a zoo. Now, the nearest zoo was at Lucknow, 200 miles away, reserving a first-class compartment for himself and Timothy. No one would share a compartment with them. Grandfather took him to Lucknow, where the zoo authorities were only too glad to receive as a gift a well-fed and fairly civilized tiger. About 6 months later, when my grandparents were visiting relatives in Lucknow, my aunt lived there. Grandfather took the opportunity of calling at the zoo to see how Timothy was getting on. I was not there to accompany him, but I heard all about it when he returned to Dehradun. Arriving at the zoo, Grandfather made straight for that particular cage in which Timothy had been interned. The tiger was there, crouched in a corner, full grown and with a magnificent striped coat. "Hello, Timothy," said Grandfather, and climbing the railing with ease, put his arm through the bars of the cage. The tiger approached the bars and allowed Grandfather to put both hands around his head. Grandfather stroked the tiger's forehead and tickled his ear, and whenever he growled, smacked him across the mouth, which was his old way of keeping him quiet. A number of people had gathered to watch the reunion when they saw the tiger licking Grandfather's hands. A keeper pushed his way through the crowd and asked Grandfather what was he doing. "I'm talking to Timothy," said Grandfather. "Weren't you here when I gave him to the zoo 6 months ago?" "I haven't been here very long," said the surprised keeper. "Please continue your conversation then, but I've never been able to touch him myself. He's always extremely bad-tempered." Grandfather had been stroking and slapping Timothy for about 5 minutes when he found another keeper observing him with some alarm. He recognized him as the keeper who had been there when Timothy had first come to the zoo. "You remember me," said Grandfather. "Now why don't you transfer Timothy to another cage away from this stupid leopard who keeps growling at him and upsets my Timothy?" "But sir," stammered the keeper, "it is not your tiger." "What do you mean by that?" "I know that already," said Grandfather testily. "I realize he's no longer mine, but you might at least take a suggestion or two from me, the one who had got him here." "I remember your tiger very well," said the keeper. "He died 2 months ago." "Died?" exclaimed Grandfather. He couldn't believe. "Yes, sir, of pneumonia. This tiger was trapped in the hills only last month, and he is very, very dangerous. He keeps growling at anyone who comes near him." Grandfather just kept looking at the keeper and at Timothy. He could think of nothing to say. The tiger was still licking his arm with increasing relish. Grandfather took what seemed to him an age to withdraw his hand from the cage. With his face near the tiger's, he mumbled, "Good night, Timothy. We'll come and see you again." And giving the keeper a scornful look, walked briskly out of the zoo. Children, do you believe the keeper? Do you think that really this tiger was not Timothy? If it was not Timothy, why was it so friendly with Grandfather? Why did he allow Grandfather to pet him? You know what? Grandfather believed that it was Timothy. And maybe in his heart he thought, even if it wasn't Timothy, he had become his Timothy. Meaning, he had befriended Grandfather just like Timothy. And that is why it had licked Grandfather's hands so lovingly and had accepted Grandfather's love so innocently. Why did he accept Grandfather's love then, if it was not Timothy, children? Probably love has no names. If you really have pure love for the other person across, even if it is an animal, the love comes across and it is accepted wholeheartedly, exactly in the same spirit. So, the real Timothy or no, Grandfather believed the tiger to be his Timothy, and both of them showed real love for each other. What a lovely story. And what a lovely grandfather Ruskin Bond had, who loved the animals, all animals, so genuinely that they all loved him back. Love has that power, children. Try this love. And let me know how you like the story. Write to me. They make me very happy. Your messages. Who else? What else? Wait for me till I come back and share your love for animals if you have. And if you have pets, and what do you do with them? I'll come soon back again with another story to narrate to you. Till then, be good, be loving, and practice true love. Bye bye.